Hello, my name is Winston McQuaid, and for those who are joining us for the very first time at Procure, and by the way, welcome to Procure en Parle. Procure is a not-for-profit organization like the Canadian Cancer Society, except that we are entirely dedicated to prostate cancer. And since information is the first remedy, Procure offers a monthly webinar on various topics to learn about this disease, which affects 12 men every day in Quebec, with a new option. You can now listen to this webinar in the language of your choice with the new simultaneous translation option. Today, the core of the presentation will focus on nutrition during or after treatment with Yamileth Marcano, clinical dietitian at the Jewish General Hospital. And thank you so much, Yamileth, for accepting our invitation tonight. We will have a presentation by our specialist, followed by a question period. And speaking of questions, thank you for those received in advance at info@procure.ca. Otherwise, you can submit them using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. They will be read during the question period. Before we begin, we would like to thank all of our donors from the bottom of our hearts, but also the official presenter of this webinar, Industrial Alliance, and our partners, Astellas, one of the laboratories involved in the treatment of more advanced and aggressive prostate cancer, as well as the Association des Urologues du Québec. Without any further ado, I now turn the floor over to you, Yamileth Marcano. You can put your screen up. Thank you. Have a great webinar.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Winston, and thank you to the Procure team for this invitation. I'm pleased to be here to talk to you a little bit about nutrition. Nutrition is a very, very big and subject. So we could be here all night, but we only have 1 hour. So I'm going to just start soon. And I hope you enjoy the information I'm about to share with you. Okay. So, do you see my screen? I'm just going to share this. Sorry about that. Okay. So the subject that we're going to touch tonight is a little bit about prostate cancer prevention, obviously related with nutrition, nutrition during treatment, nutrition after cancer, and all of your questions. And we're going to try to make it possible to address them all. When we talk about cancer, any cancer diagnosis, not necessarily prostate cancer, the first question that we ask ourselves all the time is, can we prevent it? Is it me who did this to myself? Could I have done something different? And the evidence or the scientific evidence regarding nutrition, it's very clear. There has been like many studies that associate some food items with increased risk of cancer. For example, red meat consumption, high saturated fat, which is the fat that is coming from mostly animal sources, high fat dairy products, again, saturated fat, processed food, deli meats, what we call charcuterie or cold cuts, junk food, sweet, salty food. So all of those food items has been directly related with an increase in any type of cancer, prostate cancer. However, there's no one study that has shown which diet are we supposed to follow to completely eradicate the risk of prostate cancer. So we know that when we talk about cancer, we do have several factors. We have genetics, we have environment, we have stress factors, inflammatory factors, and diet, it's one of the risk factors, but it's not all of it to completely shut down the risk or the incidence of having a cancer diagnosis. So When we talk about epidemiology, so the studies said that the cancers can reduce the risk if we have some modification in our behaviors. And basically, we're talking about a healthy lifestyle. 40% can be prevented by increasing physical activity, and 30% can be prevented by healthy nutrition. Again, we do have other factors that are going to influence this cancer diagnosis. But if we go for the right food and the things that we can control, which is a healthy lifestyle, we can certainly reduce the risk of developing a cancer. So when we talk about all these modifiable behaviors and all these healthy diets, so if you're only doing it to avoid the rest of prostate cancer, you should think twice, because actually this healthy lifestyle other type of cancers and what we call chronic adult diseases, which includes metabolic syndrome, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc. So in general, modifying a little bit your food habits and having a healthy lifestyle, it's going to just improve your quality of life and your health condition in general. So when we talk about prostate cancer and reducing the risk, we're talking about specifically 3 points: healthy food, healthy weight, and exercises. Again, modify healthy lifestyle. So when we talk about healthy nutrition, if you see a little bit to the right is the beautiful picture of the new Canadian food guide, or not so new anymore. But basically it pictures, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, what we should include in our daily life, in our healthy daily eating. So 7 to 10 portions or servings of fruit and vegetables. Remember, it's not 7 vegetables or 7 fruits, it's just a mix of both. More fiber and whole grains, and including a high vegetable and fruits diet. It does already come with a high fiber content. More fish and vegetables or legumes. When we say legumes, only beans and grains. Less red meat, processed food, animal fat, etc. So we also talk about a healthy weight. So what does that mean, a healthy weight? I mean, this is very variable between each individual, but we usually have an indicator that it was created a billion years ago, and is what we call the body mass index. So it's just a relationship between your weight and your height, and we have standards. So if you determine to be overweight, your health risk increase. However, I mentioned before, it was created a billion years ago. So usually today we're trying to put it a little bit on the side. And it's just because when we have our total weight, we have water, we have bones, we have fat mass, and we have muscle mass. So usually what is increased to this higher risk of developing chronic diseases is when we talk about the fat mass. So water, bones, and muscle mass, obviously those are lean mass. And even if you do a lot of exercises and you have a little bit extra of your weight, but that weight is just in muscle mass, or if you have a higher body frame and that weight is for your bone contexture or your bone frame, it doesn't count as a higher risk of any chronic diseases, including the cancer. So we also have another nutrients when we talk about nutrition that might prevent or diminish your risk of prostate cancer. We have vitamin D. The requirements are 800 to 1500 international units per day. So in Canada, just because we don't have sun or higher temperatures all year around, we do recommend to have a vitamin D supplement even on the summertime. And why? I mean, even if the winter, when we have a sunny day, we have all these layers of floaters that they kind of block the sunlight to pass through our skin. So the activation of the active vitamin D is not going to be completed. We can have part of this requirement through diet, and usually is what we recommend. But we do in Canada recommend a daily supplementation of vitamin D. When I talk daily, it's going to depend. Like I said, the requirements are between 800 and 1500. So if you're going to go to the tablets, you're not going to, or to the comptoir at the pharmacy, you're not going to find any pills that is going to be over 1,000 international units per day. So you can have one of those every day, or if you have a prescription from your doctor, you can get a weekly one from 10,000 international units. This should be enough to cover your needs. So we do have another vitamins, minerals that they have been related with a decreased risk in prostate cancers. We're talking about vitamin E, which we found basically in oily food because it's absorbed with fat. So any vegetable oils, but we also find it in green vegetables. We have this selenium. We can find it in nuts, in fish, also in meats. But obviously, red meat, I'm telling you, we shouldn't have that often. But nuts and fish and beans as well are good sources. Omega-3 fish, especially the fatty fish, avocado, eggs. We have the olive oil, the canola oil, where we can find it. Zinc is basically oysters and seafood, but we also can find in the lentils. So we said we talked about general healthy lifestyle that includes physical activity. So the actual recommendation is 150 minutes a week, which translates in 30 minutes per day. But it has been a lot of studies that say like you don't have to exercise every day. You can just keep with the 150 minutes a day. And the recommendation when you're not going to do it daily is going to be every 48 hours or every second day, because it has been proven that if you do 60 or more time of exercise, your muscles keep working in some degree for over 24 hours. So usually you shouldn't be skipping more of exercise if you want this muscle strength to be continued to develop. So if you're not big into exercise, my recommendation is always try to find something that you like. Some way to move around. You don't have to go running a marathon. You don't have to go, I don't know, like to the gym every day. It's just trying to engage into a more active lifestyle. It could be walking your dog, just walking around your neighborhood. It could be obviously like planned exercise, cycling, golfing, skiing, swimming. It could be just doing some activities at home that make you move. Again, move in the house, go up and down the stairs, sex. If you want, you can park your car further on the parking lot. So take the stairs instead of the elevator. So just small things. Like it doesn't have to be really like huge activities or huge demanding physical activities, just to keep you more active every day. So this is a little bit about how to prevent. So basically we go to a healthy lifestyle, healthier diet on a daily basis, and physical activity. And obviously keeping with those will take you to a healthier way. So the most important thing, or not the most important, but also like a lot of people with already a diagnosis question, like how am I going to eat, how am I supposed to eat during all of my treatment? So basically during all of the treatments that we have available, either radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and hormone therapy, our body just having a cancer diagnosis is already have a higher nutrition needs. Because our body is inflamed, is requiring to work a little bit more than usual. So what are the increased needs? Calories, proteins, nutrients, and liquids. A good nutrition or a proper nutrition is going to help with the recovery, the well-being. Is going to our objective is going to try to preserve your muscle mass as much as we can, and it's going to make stronger your immune system. And of course, when we have a proper nutrition, we have better prognosis. It has been proven that proper nutrition reduces, if you're in hospital, the complications, infection rate, and of course, any other associated disease that might come with the treatment or with the cancer itself. So when we talk about protein, we're talking about we need them to reproduce or re-synthesize all the tissue that it has been broken down or damaged with the treatment. So it contributes to healing and recovery all over organs, all over visible organs and inner organs they have a layer of proteins. So we do need them, like I said again, with treatment, usually chemotherapy, radiotherapy, they're meant to destroy the malignant cells. So we do destroy some of the tissues that we need to recover. So protein intake is very important, and they provide as well energy. So when we talk about protein, which are the main sources of protein? We're talking about obviously any kind of animal food. We're talking about dairy products. We're talking about eggs. We're talking about meat, fish, seafood, and we're talking about some vegetable sources like soy products or beans. So what are the tips to try to increase, or this is like a few tips. Of course, that if you go with a nutritionist one-to-one, we're gonna have plenty of things, but like easy and quick tips is like you can just add extra cottage cheese in your recipes. Usually is a dairy product that is low fat and it is a high content of proteins and calories. If you're gonna go for yogurt, go switch or try to prefer Greek yogurt or skyr, which are higher in protein than the regular yogurt. You can use milk or soy beverage in the hot cereals, in the soups, rather than water, because it's going to give you more calories and more protein. And you can add nuts and seeds to your salads, to your pasta, to your soup, to your oatmeal, to your pudding, or you can just simply have it as a snack. So calories, obviously, they're very important. Calories is what's gonna make the balance of our weight. Is gonna give you or provide all of the energy that we need to maintain our body functioning properly. So when we talk about high calorie diets, like obviously protein, carbohydrates, and fats or grain cereals and fat starches, they all give calories. But when we're talking about easy calories or easy way to find is everything that is going to be related to fat. Well, I said before that we don't recommend fat coming from animal products, but we can use fat coming from vegetable products, which are the polyunsaturated and monounsaturated omega-3, omega-6, fats that they can give you energy and they're not going to be detrimental to our health. So where do we find them? We find them olive oil, canola oil, avocado, seeds and nuts. Again, a way to have calories is a little bit of cheese because they have a little bit of fat included. Sugar products, they usually come with what we call a caloric density food, which is a food that it gives you a lot of calories in smaller portions. So all of this information has to be taken a little bit with a grain of salt. And this is what is important if you're really having a nutrition issue to consult a dietitian. Because like we said before, we want to try to avoid processed foods. We're going to try to avoid high sugary food. But at the same time, when we're going to treatment, we do have some symptoms that I'm going to talk about a little bit further that affect my intake. And we want to make sure that we have enough calories to sustain our body. So sometimes we have to sacrifice a little bit the quality of the food in order to achieve a good calorie and protein intake. Again, this is mostly the case when you're very sick and when you're having a lot of secondary effects from the chemotherapy, especially chemotherapy or radiotherapy treatment. Another nutrient that is very important during treatment is the liquids for two things. Of course, with chemotherapy, radiotherapy, we have a lot of secondary effects that might be vomiting and diarrhea, and they increase our risk of dehydration. But as well, again, when we're giving chemotherapy, radiotherapy, we're providing you toxic treatments in order to destroy. So we want to make sure you're well hydrated and you're having an adequate or even increased urine output to urine or to remove all of the toxins that we're giving you. So we do want to make sure that you maintain a proper hydration. So just some tips to increase your intake of water. So like when you wake up, before each meal, before a snack, just keep handy a bottle of water with you all the time. And even if you're not thirsty, just if you see it, try to take 1 or 2 sips. And if you don't like the simple taste of water, you can just use some tea, some flower waters, or some just flavor. Like it could be even the sparkly water with flavors, or it could be just those powders that they use to do some flavor on the water. And remember, water is what we recommend the most. Of course, is our body is like full of water, and we want to make sure that we are well hydrated. But also liquid means, again, everything that is liquid. It could be soups, it could be milk, it could be coffee, it could be tea, it could be jello, anything that melts into liquid. That's also helps for a proper hydration. Some ideas: cucumber and mint, citrus slices, raspberries and basil, watermelon and mint, peach rosemary. Again, it's gonna go with the taste. You can just go try in different flavors. Remember also that treatment might alter your taste. So just a little bit of trial and error. Whatever that something that you used to love, it might not be that attractive at this point. So again, when we talk about treatment, what are the common difficulties? So we have unintentional weight loss, especially for the people going through chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And we have unintentional weight gain, especially for the people receiving hormone therapy, but also for the people receiving chemotherapy treatments that include steroids on it. We do see, it's not the most frequent, but we do see people who gain weight during chemotherapy. Fatigue, changes in taste of smell, dry mouth, mucositis, mouth pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and of course, we also see decreased or a weakened immune system. So again, I told this a little bit before, but I'll repeat. Radiation therapy is going to be mostly fatigue, diarrhea, and digestive disorders. And it's going to be related to the location of the radiations. It's going to unfortunately touch a little bit of a gastrointestinal tract, and it's going to be inflamed as well, creating gastrointestinal symptoms. With the hormone therapy, we're going to see weight gain and loss of muscle mass. And I just want to tell you, usually what happens is that the hormones blockers that we're receiving, they change a little bit our body composition. So we have the tendency to reduce our muscle mass, but that is not necessarily going to be losing weight. That mass is going to be replaced for fat mass. When we talk about metabolism, the muscle mass is more active. So usually when we have more muscle mass, we do have a higher metabolism and a higher rate of losing some calories. And when we have extra fat mass, unfortunately, it's less metabolically active. So our metabolism decreases. And this is the reason why we see such an easy gain weight during hormone therapy. We have as well the cream bone mass, because the hormones that we're blocking, they protect against the osteoporosis. And of course, that increases the risk of osteoporosis. We have anemia, and we have increased risk of heart disease and diabetes. And this is again because of the switch of the increased fat mass. And with the chemotherapy, basically, we have all of the above. So the most commons are fatigue, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, where we can have constipation, the immune system that it goes to, or it takes us to developing mouth sores. So we can have dehydration in the context of diarrhea. So I would say, like, out of all of the treatment, chemotherapy is the one more toxic, or the one more that we have difficulty with nutrition. Usually when we talk about radiation therapy, as soon as the radiation treatment ends, we'll give it a few weeks or a few days, but usually the gastrointestinal disorders, they resolve. So a little bit to explain each of the symptoms that we see. Weight loss, of course, is going to promote that our immune system gets weaker. It's going to slow down the healing process because usually we don't have the right nutrients to promote the healing process. It's going to give us more fatigue. And of course, we're going to be at risk of malnutrition. And even during treatments, we go for an acute period of malnutrition. It could be different severities. If we have minor symptoms, it could be just very acute and mild malnutrition. But if we have severe symptoms and our treatment is prolonged, it could take us to severe malnutrition. So it's very important to prevent. And this is why if you're having any disturbance, even if it's minor, if you have started to notice any change on your intake, it's important for you to consult a dietitian just to prevent the malnutrition. So what are the tips a little bit just to try to fight the effect of the weight loss? Instead of having big meals, we can have small and frequent meals. So every 2-3 hours, we shouldn't be skipping at least the main meals. Of course, if the appetite is decreased, you're gonna just try and choose your favorite food. Avoid drinking during meals because usually drinking is gonna fulfill your stomach, so you're not gonna have space for the main meal. However, another tip is just if you're gonna drink, try to drink things that are higher calories. Again, it could be milk, it could be juices. Even if juices we don't recommend as a part of a healthy diet, in the moment that we need some calories, it's better to choose things that are gonna give you nutrition instead of water, coffee, tea, that they hydrate you, but they don't give you any nutrition. Nutritional supplements can be an option, and I'm going to talk about nutritional supplements a little bit later. And moving, just expending some calories, it might stimulate your appetite, which sometimes is hard. It becomes like a circle, a negative circles where you're tired, you move less, you don't have appetite. So it's sometimes it takes really like a will to just to try to break the cycle. So the second effect, it could be weight gain. So usually, even if you're gaining weight, the diets during the treatment are not recommended. They might be dangerous because you might be missing important nutrients for your recovery. So the objective is just to try to stabilize, make a weight stabilization. So just to avoid the gain weight, but we don't want you to do any diet to further lose weight. Usually when you are in an acute period and you're losing weight, there's a lot of chances that you're going to be losing your muscle mass instead of the fat mass. That is really what we want to get rid of. So again, during the treatment, it's not the right time. After the treatment, we can just go and look for a regimen or a diet that I don't like to call it diet, but a plan menu that might help you to lose a little bit of weight. But during the treatment, it's never a good idea. So what are the tips to try to avoid this gain weight or to try to revert it or to stabilize? Just pay attention to the amount of fat of your food. It's hard to say 15-20% per day, but just go with dairy products that are lower in fat. Just with the method of cooking, just try to go more like oven cooking or steam, or just avoid over using oil. Again, I told you before that oil is a easy way to put some calories on the diet. Prioritize plants. For vegetables, they are what we call low caloric density, so it's the opposite. So in big quantities, they don't give you much calories. So they're gonna, if you have hunger, or they're gonna fulfill your satiety, but they're not gonna give you as many calories. So of course, lean proteins and avoid fried, as I said before. And physical activity is always a partner in our weight loss. It's just a balance. The more we expend and the less we eat, we're gonna go down. And when I say the less we eat, there's limits, right? Again, our body needs the energy to live, so we cannot just starve them to death. It's not gonna work. So fatigue, unfortunately, is a very, very common side effect of all of the treatments. So nearly 75% of people, they leave it, and sometimes very mild, sometimes people don't even notice, and great, that's great. But usually most of the people, they do report having fatigue. So just make sure, just stay hydrated. Again, small and often meals, sometimes lighted meals, not lighter, not that heavy. It might help with the fatigue. Rest, sleep well, have the indispensable in the pantry or fridge. And what we mean is like, usually when we are increased fatigue or we're more tired, we don't want to cook, right? So just make sure you have little snacks here and there that are balanced, that you make sure you have your protein source, you're sure you're having enough nutrients on it. Easy things to cook. You can work on sandwiches, we can work on wraps, we can work on salads, we can work on soups. So, and another tip is just maybe pick a day of the week to cook, and then just froze your food. So a strategy so you don't have to be tired and having to cook 3 meals a day. And of course, ask for help. This is like for help, not just the dietitian to give you the tip, but also you can ask for help for your close ones, your family, your friends, in order to help you to go through this period. So again, I said like easy things to do. So usually smoothies are an easy way to complete or to have a complete meal. There's some basics or rules to have a good smoothie that is going to be nutritive enough to support you during the day or during a meal, let's say. So your liquid base, it has to be some kind of protein source or a beverage that is going to give you nutrition. So milk or soy beverage, or you can use a nutritional supplement, boost, ensure, etc. Ideally, you have a fruit or vegetable just to give you enough vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. And you have a source of protein for sure. You have a Greek yogurt, tofu, skim milk, nut butters, and you can also add, if you want to add a little bit of calories, you can add some grains and seeds, like chia seeds or flax seeds. We have another symptom that is very common, usually mostly in chemotherapy, which is changes in the taste of smell. So the first thing to do is just to make sure you have a good oral hygiene, just to avoid any bacteria there that is going to worsen the bad taste. And you have to, again, like I said before, error and trial. Things that you might have loved before, now you find tasteless, or you find too sweet, too salty. So you just have to make the opposite effect. If you find that foods are bitter, you can add sugar, and you can remove red meat that usually give that bitter taste. If you are feeling that everything is sweet, you can dilute, you can add a little bit of extra salt or spices. If you have metallic taste, you can use plastic utensils, sour taste, marinate meat and fish just to sauce around. Sometimes it helps to avoid the actual taste of the food itself. If you have odors, sometimes cold meals help because they are not smelly, and just try not to eat in the kitchen. So just try to maybe somebody else cook for you and just remove from that environment, because strong odors might worsen the sensation. And again, if all of your symptoms are very, very pronounced, we're going to use a nutritional supplement. If you have dry mouth, so oral hygiene, we go back, is important. You can try to sip water all day long. You can moist your food with sauces, like everything you can moist to make easier to swallow and to chew, to manipulate that food in your mouth. And there's some artificial saliva that might be used. For the mucitis or the oral sores, the mouth sores, obviously it's like when we have an open wound, so avoiding acidic, spicy food might avoid the irritation and the pain. Avoid dry foods. Again, when it's not moist, we usually use our mucosa more when we chew and when we manipulate the food in your mouth. So just to make sure that you're having moist stuff. Cold or warm, and avoid like very extreme temperatures, just because sometimes it hurts more. And if you need to change the diet texture, let's say if you're not able to chew, we can always use liquid diet, pure diet, or small pieces, so you don't have to manipulate that much. Nausea and vomiting. So of course, we're gonna try to go with whatever we know we tolerate well. And when we have nausea and vomiting, the principle of small meals and more often also applies. Keep yourself hydrated. And sometimes nausea gets worse when we have our empty stomach. So just try to eat. Sometimes dry foods like crackers, like bread, cookies, dry food, sometimes it helps. So avoid again mixing liquids and solid food because it just fulfills your stomach quickly and you're gonna have more tendency to have the nausea and the vomiting episodes. So for the diarrhea, avoid foods high in fiber, avoid milk. Usually when we have inflammation of our gastrointestinal tract, we have some of the microhairs that help us to digest the milk, they're gone. So we do have worsened diarrhea with dairy products. So avoid a high fat food because as well it promotes malabsorption and it also promotes when we have higher fat food, the food stays longer in our stomach. So also for the nausea and vomiting, it might help. So to avoid the high food fiber, the high fibery food, you can choose more refined white bread, white pasta, rice, cheese, things that they don't have fiber on it. And of course, keep hydrated. So you can buy like free hydration solutions in the pharmacy, but you can also make it at home. It could be with orange juice, water, and salt. And you're making sure you're having enough sodium, potassium, magnesium that we lose usually a lot when we have diarrhea, and phosphorus. So for the opposite, I would say that in my experience, constipation is a little bit less often than diarrhea, but it does happen. So just make sure you have enough water to try to form and give a little bit of consistency to that stool, just to make it softer. Aim 2 liters per day. The minimum that we recommend is 1.5. And again, we actually recommend, again, high water ingestion or liquid ingestion for your treatment. Gradually increase fiber. The fiber is going to also help to form a little bit better your fecal material. Regular physical activity, if you have obviously the energy and if your doctor allows. It also helps to move with the bowel movement. And prune juice usually helps. Dates helps. They are high fibery content and they're natural laxatives. For the weakened immune system, usually it goes with chemotherapy, not with the other treatments. So we want to make sure that we have adequate food safety guidelines to avoid any infection transmitted through food. So hygiene, obviously hand hygienes, counters hygienes, food hygienes to avoid cross-contamination. So we have to wash very well, especially our fresh food. When we go purchase, we just make sure the expiry dates, that the canned products are not damaged, the package are not open. Cooking temperature, so we want to make sure that everything is well cooked. So for things that are raw, like for example medium rare meat, it's out of the table during your chemo treatment or during the time that your immune system is decreased. Smoked salmon that is not cooked, the products, dairy products are not pasteurized. Things that you buy in big bulks like nuts, like dry fruits, should be avoided, just because everything that is exposing, we don't know how it was manipulated, or the utensils are not constantly being cleaned, then we should stay away. So when you go to the grocery, just try to go with everything sealed. And of course, food preservation. If you cook, just try to eat that food on the past 3 days. If you reheated once in the microwave, just don't do it over and over again. It's not recommended. To defreeze, instead of defreezing with hot water or in the counter, just try to switch to the refrigerated 24 hours in advance if you have planned to prepare your meals. But it's important just to avoid any infection through the And when we talk about nutritional supplements, so basically what we're trying to find is an easy way to provide calories, proteins, vitamin, and minerals. So my first recommendation is all the time, if you're having a little bit of decreased intake, a little bit of you find that you're deficient in your diet, my first option is going to be try to go with natural food. Smoothies, desserts, homemade desserts, things that give you calories and protein, homemade with real food, but sometimes it's a challenge. Again, the tiredness, the fatigue, we don't have the support of our loved like families and friends. So sometimes we have a barrier. So nutritional supplements are a very good tool. Again, they give you calories, protein, vitamin, and minerals, and you can also use them for your cooking. You can put it in your smoothies, you can put it on your puddings, on your muffins, on your regular food. And again, when you're really having symptoms and you're thinking about going to a nutritional supplement, I think it's time, and probably it was time a little bit before, just to ask for a dietitian. Most, I would say 90% of the centers, the public centers that offer chemotherapy treatment, they offer a dietitian. They have a dietitian on the service, which is free. CLSC, they have a dietitian. So just ask for a reference if you need. Some of the departments, like at the Jewish, you just have a dietitian in a walk-in clinic at the chemotherapy center. So just make sure if you have the research, you can use it. So again, during your treatment, as well as prior to your treatment and after your treatment, physical activity is very important. It helps us to preserve our muscle mass. Sometimes people get hospitalized, and just getting into a hospital bed, we said there's a studies that has proven that we lose like 30% of our muscle mass because we move less. So just pick the time of the day that you feel better and try to go and exercise a little bit. Again, like I said before, park further, try to move all the time. And if it's what we say, bouger, do, if you find a partner that gets you motivated to move, just that's the best strategy for you. We do have, there's proven that both muscular resistance and aerobic exercise should be mixed to get the most benefits. They help to reduce the osteoporosis risk, improving and maximizing the bone density. So just try to go for alternation in your type of exercise. Again, it's going to be all the time to respect your rhythm and to listen to your body. And of course, just confirm with your doctor if you have any restrictions on activity. So what about my nutrition after the treatment? So everything that I'm going to say here is not new. We saw it through all this presentation. It's a little bit more of the same. So the key is a balanced and varied diet. We don't have don'ts. We don't have bad food. We only have a more frequent choice of healthier food or more beneficial food. For me, any food, if you decide to eat it in an sporadic way, is gonna harm you in a way that is not gonna be reversible. So a balanced diet helps to prevent a new cancer, reduces the risk of a relapse or a recurrence, and prevents the onset of other chronic diseases. So the idea is to achieve and trying to maintain a healthy weight, and to try to move 30 minutes a day. Again, if you can make it to 60, you can even go every second day. So balanced diet, what does that mean? Basically, try to avoid everything that is processed food. And we try to go with natural food or cooking for the fresh food. So as we said before, try to avoid the meat aisles of the supermarket. So just try to go to the fresh part. So try to limit foods high in calories, fat, salt, sugar, red meat. It has been proven that, like I said before, that it increases the risk of cancer. So what we try to minimize to 3 servings a week. And 3 servings usually is around 3, or 1 serving, sorry, is around 3 ounces per serving. And if we want to compare, you compare to the palm of your hand. Avoid everything that is deli meats, processed meat, cold cuts. And in a daily balanced diet, we try to avoid liquid calories. And when we said liquid calories, we mean like sugary beverage, like juices or soda drinks, etc. We're gonna try to choose lean meats where it's gonna remove all the extra saturated fat, vegetable protein sources. We don't have to become a vegetarian, but it has been proven that a plant-based food reduces the risk of chronic diseases. So just try to at least aim for 1 or 2 vegetarian meals. And we have, like, again, protein sources like soy products or beans. Fish 2 times a week, low-fat dairy products, and good fats like olive oil, nuts, canola oil. To prevent the cancer, just try to include high food sources of lycopene, selenium, vitamin E. Lycopene, we find the most quantity is in tomatoes, but we also have the grapefruit, we also have the watermelon, we also have the cabbage, so we can go get it, and some red fruits. But the most that it counts is the tomatoes. We have selenium, again, the nuts, the beans. We have vitamin E, eat oily fishes at least twice a week. I repeated myself a little bit, but this is what is part of a pre, during, and post. Soy products, it has been proven to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. Usually it's through the phytoestrogens that they kind of block the cancer to continue to grow. You take vitamin D supplements, like I said before, even during the summer. And if you're in a long-term hormone therapy, when I say warning, is again because the main issue is gain weight, and then gain weight might lead to other chronic diseases. So just try to prevent, increase your physical activity, modify your food habits in order to achieve a diet that is balanced, but is also lower in calories. So as a conclusion, keep in mind balanced plate. So I didn't see it in my presentation. I think I had it. Anyway, the balanced plate, if you picture the Canadian food guy, I'm just gonna go and get it for you. If you see it here, the balanced plate is basically half of your plate when we have fruit and vegetables, meaning high fiber, meaning a lot of antioxidants, vitamins and minerals, and meaning low caloric density food. So in big quantities, they don't give you more calories. We have a quarter of the plate with starches. Starches, sugar, grain products, we need them because they are the main source for our body and our brain to function. So we do need the sugar. Just try to go for the unrefined, less processed food. Again, high fiber, it's gonna work better on your metabolism. And a quarter of the plate, a protein source, very important for the synthesis, for the protection and of your muscle mass. So we prioritize on the fish, we prioritize on the white meats, but we also are allowed red meat 1 to 3 times a week. So sorry about that, I just missed that. Listen to your hunger and fullness cues. Just try to identify a little bit, I'm eating just because I'm stressed. So just try to listen to your body and don't overeat. Have ingredients on hand to prepare simple and quick meals. Freeze your meals. You can cook once a week and then have pre-prepared meals in order to avoid over fatigue and decrease intake. And if you have low appetite, small meals more frequent. So we have here simple ideas of like frequent meals. It could be, again, doesn't have to be elaborated foods. When we have that beautiful plate on the Canadian Food Guide, we can always convert that into a simple meal. For example, here we have a cereal with yogurt that is our protein. We have fruit and vegetables that is the fruits, and we have a little bit of cereal there that is the grain or the starches. So we have here a few ideas. More ideas. So again, you can choose how to mix your plate as long as it's balanced. And thank you very much for your attention. And now we can go to the question period.
Thank you so much, Yamileth, for this excellent presentation, I should say. Very, very, very good. I have one question here, Yamileth. I will soon start a radiation therapy treatment, and I was told to eat a low-fiber diet. So why? And what foods should I avoid?
Okay, so basically a low-fiber diet is what we call, or let me begin for the first question. The reason what we're recommending a low-fiber diet in radiotherapy, it's actually two reasons. The first one is that one of the main secondary effects of the radiotherapy is diarrhea. So we want to make sure that everything that you eat is easy to digest to improve or to avoid any excessive diarrhea, dehydration, and everything that comes with it. And the second reason is usually because when we have prostate cancers and we're on radiation, we go to scan frequently just to follow up on the treatment. And usually if we have a high fiber diet, that might, what we say, like give you like distension or like the word says, give gases to your gastrointestinal tract, and the imaging is going to be less effective. So those are the two reasons why we recommend a low fiber diet during radiotherapy with prostate cancer. So what basically is a high fiber diet is everything that is whole wheat, or again, the opposite. What is a low fiber diet? Everything that is refined and white. So fiber usually we found in fresh fruit and vegetables, beans that they have like all the skin around, and everything that is whole wheat or whole grain. So basically a low fiber diet is you have to choose more canned fruits or cooked fruits without the skin, cooked vegetables or frozen vegetables, and you have to choose white cereals to avoid a high fiber diet.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much, Yamileth Marcano. This was very instructive, and really, thank you very much. And this is about it. We're coming to the end of this seminar. First of all, your opinion matters to us at ProCure, so please fill out the quick survey on your screen. You can see it. Once again, a huge thank you, Yamileth, for your precious time. It's extremely appreciated. Outstanding questions will be sent and answered individually. Our next webinar will take place on March 29th at 7 p.m., during which we will discuss the importance of bone health, prevention, and treatment with Suzanne Morin, doctor and researcher at the McGill University Health Center. So please note this webinar will be in French with English simultaneous translation. So join us, call us, or visit procure.ca to stay up to date. So Winston McQuaid for Procure en Parle. Thank you and see you on March 29. Have a good evening.